Welcome to the Best of Intentions, a podcast from Intention Films and Media, hosted by writer, director, former film commissioner, and novelist Deborah Markowitz. So join us as we talk about all things creative.
Okay. Hi, this is Debbie Markowitz from the Best of Intentions, the podcast of Intention Films and Media. We have some incredibly cool guests today. I saw a film a few weeks ago on YouTube called Beautiful Pam, and I wanted to invite some of the people who are involved with this. And we have J.R. Stokes, who is, I believe, the writer and director and producer. Tom Corsiari, who is the actor who I've cast before, and it is so cool to see him in this amazing role. And then Pete is a new friend who was also one of the actors in the film. But I want to welcome all to the Best of Intentions. So hi, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey Deb, how you doing?
So,
Thanks for having us, Deb.
Thanks
oh,
for
you're
having me.
quite welcome. So I'm going to start with JR. This was such a dark, gritty tale. And can I ask how you came up with this?
Well, again, thank you so much for having us, Deb. We're really excited to be here. This has been a long time in the making. Beautiful Pam, it's a story about family and isolation and empathy. And while on the surface it is dark and gritty and it touches on some really uncomfortable topics, at the end of the day, we always wanted to make a film resembling how it feels to navigate this life, right? That we see from Pam in the film and that we see from all the characters in the film. I think at its core, it's a story about navigating people, right? And that looks different for everybody. So that's the inspiration I took in making the film.
That's amazing. Now, you said it was a long time coming. How long did it take you to put it all together?
Tom and Peter have been attached to the film for 2 years, if
Oh,
that kind of
wow.
gives you an idea.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been 2 years, a 2 year long process.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. And this isn't your first film, though, right? I'm
This
assuming
is
it's
my
not.
second feature, yeah.
Oh, oh, you do two features already.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, what is the other feature?
It's called EdgeX. It's about adolescent substance abuse. These kids who are teenagers and they get into some messed up things. So
You're into all the feel-good movies.
yeah.
But when I saw this movie, I mean, it is just such a dark movie. And yes, it's about navigating. I mean, my films are always about messy relationships
Yeah.
of some type or another, whether it's
Right.
straight, LGBTQ, whatever it is. Somebody's always having some serious issues. But this was so heartbreaking, I guess, really is how you can look at it, is by somebody that just wants to have a relationship with their kid, and
Mm.
that the ex-wife doesn't really understand what has happened, which kind of in my couple of guys is similar, although on a much lighter note, where Sal Rendino's character is married to Deb Twist,
Mhm.
and he divorces her, but she doesn't know why, and then he comes out as gay once they're divorced, and he really doesn't even want to come out, but he kind of has to be able to survive. But but we make a lot lighter of this. This is, all kinds of things are happening. You did to poor Tom. It's like, oh my God. It's like, did you sit there and go, what else can we do to this guy?
Yeah.
Did that just come out organically, or were you just trying to build this uh, um, this character of pain and more pain and more pain? But oh man, wow, it's incredible. How much did you let the actors improvise?
But a lot of it was collaborative, and we took about 2 weeks to rehearse the film. I have a garage in my backyard, and so in the middle of August, we sat down for 2 weeks, and Tom and Peter, who were workhorses to work with, these guys would come in almost every day and rehearse for 3 hours at a time, right? And we'd figure it out, and Tom and Peter and this person would come to me and would say, "Hey, maybe I could say this, or maybe I could say that, or maybe we could place this here." It was about finding it together, and I think a lot of that has to do with the talent of these two gentlemen on here with me. It was a wonderful collaborative process, and I wouldn't take it back for the world. I think that's the best part about making movies is making it with people you cherish.
Yes, absolutely. And I think by the time you get to filming, if you work with really good actors, when you get to filming, they know them better than you do, even though you wrote them.
Oh yeah,
So they'll say,
100%.
"Hey, can I say this? I don't think my character would say this. I think he'd do that."
Yeah.
It's your decision
Yeah,
whether or
I
not to
know. Trust me.
go there.
Tom was the king of telling me, well, I don't think Pam would say this.
There were actually times when I didn't even tell him. I just said this. I said, "Let me just say this," and so I would kind of like go from behind the camera, like, "All right, we'll see about that."
Wow. Now, this was such a very, very different world from the things I've seen you in. But then again, you're a chameleon, Tom. I mean, I've seen you do some amazing stuff, but
Thank you.
this you so inhabited it, and it was just how great was that for you as an actor to play this very, very different character for you?
Well, like any actor, you have any role, you look for the the things in common you have with the character.
Hmm.
And because Pam, yes, Pam is a trans queer woman, but ultimately just a person underneath the hair and the makeup and the outfits. They're just a person,
Hmm.
a 50-something-year-old individual who's gone through a lot of the same experiences I have.
Hmm.
So you kind of tap into that, and with the character also. Once you put the costume on, it's easier to inhabit that character once you're in that the literal skin of that character.
Hmm.
So that's how that kind of works for me.
Now, Pete, you played a really, really dark, hateable character. Like I could find the parts in Pam to love it, and your character, I'm like, oh, this is so creepy. How was that for you? Did you enjoy being this really terrible person?
Absolutely. It kind of goes back to I love playing people like that. It kind of goes back to my love of Back to the Future. Biff, um, who I forget the character's name, actor's name, but he's so masterfully played by. But yeah, I love getting into the mind of Sax's shit, and Beatles just kind of an amalgam of things I didn't like about myself at the time, minus the child touching stuff, of course, and a couple of people that we know in real life. And a lot of 50 Cent, a lot of Foo Fighters. I try to like kind of like mix up the music to get in the mood, but once you're there, you're there. But it was fun. I like playing scummy guys. They're interesting because if I'm playing a good guy, I'm kind of playing myself.
Well, that's some testament to the acting and the directing, the fact that you feel for these characters. I mean, my heart was kind of broken for Pam, and at the same time, I'm like, ew, hearing about this other character. But I mean, this is phenomenal work. I don't even know what else to say about it, but it's even if it's not somebody's type of movie per se, it's something you'd expect to see on Netflix. I mean, it's just
Thank you.
Thank you.
I was so impressed. I got to tell you, it was. I mean, I watched it because I know Beck Fordyce was also in it. She was the lead in the movie I just did, Waitlist, the love
Yeah.
story. And I remember her telling me about this about the work in this movie, and she was just so excited about the project and the story, and so it was kind of cool to finally watch it because I know you kept. I think you had it was already online by the time we had our film festival, so we couldn't take it. And then I think you invited me somewhere, but we were filming, and so I finally got to see it on YouTube, and I'm sitting there floored. I mean, absolutely floored,
Thank you.
with what you did. So what is your background? Did you go to film school, or did you learn on set, or are you just like one of those prodigies? I mean, how did you?
I don't know about Prodigy, but filmmaking has always been something a part of my life since I'm a little kid. My childhood best friend Brandon, who actually worked on this film as well, we've been making films of all kinds since we're younger than 9 years old. So
Wow.
filmmaking and film as a whole, cinema, these are very essential building blocks of being a young person for me. And my first feature film, Edge X, which I talked about earlier, that was like my film school. That was where I was trying to learn how to make a film. And that was something I did right after high school. And so when it came to Pam, that this was a film where I wanted to try and take another step forward. And that's always the goal is how can how can there be a progression, right? How can I take the next step forward and how can I tell stories that are entertaining but are also interesting and make you think about it, right? For me, the types of films I want to make are the films that you talk about at dinner, right? Or family vacation or holidays or first dates. For me, those types of films are like Scorsese films, right? Whenever I'm on a date or a holiday, right? Those are the films that I talk about. And so those are the types of movies I want to make.
Yeah, I think there's no better compliment than a film that makes you think.
Yeah.
That people are talking about. I mean, when I did Waitlist, the Love Your Story, to me, it was just we were having a really dark time in this world, and I want to make something that was just fun and it was light. And then, because I've done some very dark things as well. And right after that, I went into From the Embers, which is about trauma and addiction. But at that point, I wanted to do something light. And what I'm really surprised at, it's not that people like it. I'm surprised at how much they read into it, that I don't even remember writing about it. But, I'm thinking about it, I go, they're actually not wrong. What these people went through and how society was against it. I wasn't thinking any of that when I wrote it. I just knew what I wanted to see. And so that's what ended up on the page. And then the actors brought, all the special stuff that they brought to it, the magic and whatnot. And, the biggest, I think one of the biggest compliments is people say that the chemistry between them is so absolutely believable, and that's what matters. The actors have to work
Yeah.
together. They can't talk at each other. It's got to be one combined effort, with the director guiding, everything behind it. So you didn't go to film school either. We did a panel one year at the film festival, probably about 25 years ago. And it was, how much did you waste on film school before you learned how to make a movie? And people are like, I wasted this much money. I wasted, because the best film school is doing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
And I always tell people, just make your first movie, get some friends together. If it sucks, don't show it to anybody.
I've been there before, trust me.
Yeah, don't go to your family and ask them, because they're either going to tell you it's bad even if it's good, or it's good even if it's bad. But go to people can be kindly honest. People who know what they're doing, who will tell you, hey, it was 2 hours too long. Hey, it was, maybe you need better actors, or somebody who can kind of give you, the information. But I didn't go to film school either. I started volunteering, or I was asked to work on different film sets, doing casting and producing. And I kind of learned, my very first film, I was brought in as a casting director because they knew they wanted a couple of celebrities that I knew. And as soon as I cast a few people, they say, hey, you want to be our CD? And I'm like, I've never done it before, but I know how to ask questions. I know how to look stuff up. And the DP on it was actually in another for a series. He was nominated for an Academy Award, and the whole crew were people who won Emmy Awards, and they were all friends of this one executive producer. So I learned on the best set ever, and I was terrified because the AD was yelling at everybody, and and I'm just trying to be quiet in the corner doing my thing. And I'll never forget catching him in a mistake on the strip board. And we worked 7 late days in a row. And I remember like midnight looking at the strip board going, oh, he forgot somebody. And like, I was afraid he was going to yell at me, but I'm like, Zeke, I think you forgot actor number so-and-so. Silence called back, fine. But it was a great learning experience because I got to learn from professionals, which is such a cool thing. You seem to have this intrinsic knowledge of how to put this movie together. So you must watch a lot of movies, I'm assuming.
I would say so. I've also made a lot of films throughout my life. Again, for me, there's a difference between getting knowledge, right, by watching films and learning from film itself, but also actually making films. That's something that's been every step of the way throughout my life. I also used to work in this very niche form of animation called machinima. You probably haven't heard of, but that was where I started as a kid. I was 7 years old making machinimas, and I've been making those for years, right? Especially through the pandemic as well in high school. And that's kind of where I really learned editing and lighting and shot composition, and I was able to experiment with those things because they were virtual, they were animation. So it was cool. It's been a fun process, and the biggest thing for me when watching a film is watch everything, right? Like that's something I've always heard from my favorite directors, but it's also something that is true. Like literally watch everything. Watch good films, watch bad films. Try and take different things away from a film every time you watch it. That's always super, super important.
Oh yeah. I actually, there's very few films or film genres that I don't like, because I'm kind of fascinated. I've kind of been obsessed with making a really cheesy horror film,
Yeah.
but I know it can't be really bad. I just can't. I can't. I got to make something that looks good. I just,
Yeah.
even when I try to make something cheesy, I end up getting too involved, and then it becomes a whole
Yeah.
big thing. But we just saw a movie, and I don't remember which one it was. It was at a film festival, and I remember thinking, oh, But see, he made a purposely cheesy movie that's absolutely delightful and fun. Actually, we have the same distributor now, I remember. And I said, so I could make my film, and you can't make it intentionally cheesy because then it's just stupid. But
Sure.
you can do kind of bizarre things that
Yeah.
are off the cuff funny, you know. So now I kind of feel like I could probably pull this off. We don't have to see the building collapse. We can just see the guy run and then see fire in the background and
Yeah,
just, you know,
exactly.
Yeah.
$500,000, you know? So I'm like,
Hmm.
you know what? And people will know that's what you did, but it's okay because it's really the story. So
Yeah.
that kind of, I mean, it's funny. I've made I must have worked on 70 films already, but I just have in my mind, I want to do something fun again, you know, and with zombies and whatever, I just know I want to do that. So this kind of gave me the will to say, when we get to it after the next few films, I want to do that one, you know? So,
There you go.
yeah, I mean, my first film was called The Last Taxi Driver with Robert Plahesi from Blue Bloods was the lead in
Oh
it.
wow.
Right. Right.
Deb Twist was in it, and Emily Jackson, who was in Incarnate, and she done a bunch of TV stuff. And I thought it was a horror movie, but it turned out to be a comedy because I don't know, my films all turn out to be comedies. And but it looked really good. It wasn't a great story. No, it was fun, you know, but it wasn't great. But I always wanted to make that into a feature. So now we kind of
Okay.
figured out how we can do it. And it's pretty exciting without it going into multiple millions, which we're never going to have. So
Exactly.
that was pretty exciting. What's next for you, JR? What else do you have coming out?
Well,
What are you gonna work
I'm very notoriously late with things. You know, Tom and Peter, they didn't see a script for Pam until like the very first week of July 2024. You know, like it
on?
was a very, very late thing, and then we started shooting in September. So
Mhm.
I'm always in pursuit of working on different things. But what's coming next is I'm doing this film about this homeless guy in New York, and it's, very sort of taxi driver, killing of a Chinese bookie inspired. You know, it's interesting. I'm excited to get into it.
Wow, that's awesome. Now,
Thank
Tom,
you.
I mean, when I saw Tom's job, I sent him a DM after I saw it, and I said, you know, this is Academy Award level shit. This
Yeah,
really is.
I
I
agree with
Thank you.
that.
yeah, I was. It was so believable, and you know, I mean, knowing a lot of transgender people myself, and one person, she didn't evolve until she was actually older, so she's still very masculine and very whatever. And I'm
Right.
so oblivious that I've known her for 20 years. And she came to my house once. She goes, "I have to tell you something." I'm like, "What?" And she goes, "You know, I'm transsexual." I'm like, "Oh." She goes, "You didn't know?" I'm like, "No, I don't know. You're my friend. I never thought about
Right.
it." Apparently, everybody else knew, but I just didn't know. You know, but I could see the same sort of, you know, obviously male but not, you know, and you know, you handled that so well, but and it was so believable, you
Thank
know,
you.
that I probably wouldn't have noticed because I just don't notice things like that.
Right. Right.
Crazy, but I don't. It's awful. Well, maybe it's not awful. Maybe it's good. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I could just feel everything about that. I can't even tell you how impressed I was with that. But
Thank you.
I did tell you. I thought, you know, yeah. Oh my goodness. So Tom, what do you have going on after this?
um,
Hmm.
I start shooting I'm to do four days on a feature next month,
Mhm.
in the city, and I'm in rehearsals to Hamlet with the Carriage House Players
Mhm.
in May and June at Centerport, and then JR and Pete and I we're going to be working on whatever that next project is.
Mhm.
Um,
Most
and they've
definitely.
got a couple of other like feature things supposed to be happening in the fall. So it's you have these things on your board, but until they actually start to happen, they stay there.
Right. Now, Pete, you have obviously you're going to work on this thing with Tom and JR. What else
I
do you
think
have?
so.
Anything?
What was that?
Do you have anything lined up for the future that you're working on?
Yeah. I'm doing a script read next week for a horror feature, so I don't know as far as like being involved with the actual feature, but it seemed really cool. The script seemed really cool, so I'm excited about that. I got an agent recently, which was nice because that's been a long time coming. Thanks to Papa Tom with helping me.
Yeah.
And taking class right now, doing some classes. That's pretty much that. I'm kind of laser focused on what we're going to be doing all together, all of us,
Yeah.
this coming summer because this one's going to be just as big and just as grand, hopefully, as Beautiful Pam. So I'm putting. I don't like to put all my eggs in one basket usually, but this is the basket for like one of those rare occasions that I will put all those eggs in that basket. So
When
it's
you
pretty
have
much.
sorry, when you have that team of people that you work really well with, it's like you can't wait.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
say that all the time. I think the three of us talk about that all the time, that like I wouldn't have it any other way. Of course, we're going to go off and do our own things and all that, but I wouldn't want to work with anyone else other than these guys. So yeah,
And we chat multiple times daily. We're
Yeah.
sending each other voice messages or texts
Yeah.
about whatever. So we're in like constant contact.
Oh yeah.
We're kind of like
100%.
annoying about that, like the three of us, but constantly sending each other. And it could be about anything.
Yeah.
It's a lot of times it's about film. It's about creative ideas, but sometimes it's about whatever Thai food or whatever.
Hold up. There's a certain thing. I mean, they call it a film family for a reason. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes you just really are intertwined for the project, then people go their own way, and sometimes you come back together, and sometimes people are just on their way, and that's it. And
Yeah.
it's kind of sad, but it is life at the same time. But there's people that I work with, like we're finishing up a project, and go, I had a thought, and I'm like, please stop, because I'm going to write it if you tell me stop.
Right.
And then I had so many projects happening, which is what we went from Weightless, which is again Weightless Love Story, which is a very light romantic comedy. There's
Mhm.
drama in it, but it's very light. And Travis Grant, who is the lead in that, he didn't know that John acted. John actually went to the Yale School of Drama. John actually is a really freaking great actor.
I
And
knew that. Yeah.
so he said, "Oh, I didn't know. I want to do something with John. Let's do something like Good Will Hunting." I'm like, "No." I want to bring you to your knees. I want to see what happens. And so I wrote Brimstone Short, which I don't know if anybody saw, but it's a pretty dark movie. And it's about a son played by Travis who has just got PTSD. And it starts out with him like crying at the sink where you can tell he flipped out on his wife. You don't know what happened, but he's hyperventilating and he's trying to get himself together. And the kid's in the background not knowing what happened. And she basically says, you have to fix this or it really will kill you next time. And you find out later that he became a heroin addict because he had such an abusive childhood. And I didn't know. I mean, I knew I could get Travis there, but Travis didn't know if he could get there because he was a comedian and he was just a
Right.
romantic light stuff. I'm like, no, I know you can do it. It's whether
Mhm.
you know you can do it. And he would come over a few times a week and they would rehearse. And of course, but when you're on book, it doesn't, it doesn't really, you can't see what they
Right.
can do. So I remember telling John, I said, I mean, I've never had a line feed an actor in my life, but whatever I got to do to get this performance, I'm going to do it. He walked in with his eyes down, wouldn't talk to anybody, stuttering. I'm like, oh, he's so there. He is so there. And he was. And he's won Best Acting Awards for this and everything. But, I love to see the different circumstances. When you have a really good actor that you jive with, you want to see what else they can do.
Right.
Because to me, that's exciting. I'm behind a monitor. I always let things run a little longer than some people because I want to see the look they're going to come out with that maybe we wouldn't have gotten 2 seconds after the scene finished. So to me, sometimes I get so carried away. My hands are over my mouth, so I'm trying not to laugh or someone did something outrageous like, oh, yeah. It's like I'm watching TV, but it's in real time, and
Yeah.
I have so much respect for great actors. I mean, I used to act back in the day, but I never really put the time in. I didn't really study enough, and I'm better behind the camera, writing the stories, and then watching other people, bring them out. But I'm just so in awe by what you guys do. I really am. When you're so in the moment. I mean, how do you feel, JR? Is that like, have you ever acted? Have you ever acted?
I've done a little bit of acting, but nothing
He's
compared to
awesome.
these pros. These guys are pros.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
Tom was just on Law and Order for crying out loud. This guy's a pro. No, I mean,
I,
go ahead, Tom.
no, I was gonna say I got my first residual check.
Oh.
7 cents after taxes, baby. That's it. I'm treating to the bubble gum next
Yeah.
time.
He's picking up the tab for dinner next time.
Just take a time machine back to 1970, and I can buy us all bubble gum on that 7 cents.
Wait till you at least get like $10 or $25. They waste so much money with this, but whatever.
I mean, it's like it's the stamp costs more than the check.
Yeah, it's kind of
And
crazy.
I said to my agent, "So do I give you like a hay penny? Is it what? How does this work?"
Let's see, 7 cents, you get like 3/4 of a penny.
Right, exactly. She said, we'll wait till, like the end of the year that we can settle that 10% account, whatever that'll be.
Now, oh, actually, I'm not going to bring this up online. I was just going to ask about five corn stuff, but I'm not going to do that because people keep that stuff private until they need to not. Until they need to not. But I've done both union and non-union. I mean, obviously non-union is way easier, but but I understand the reason for unions and I get all that, and but it's a balance. I go back and forth all the time. Depends
Well, no,
what.
what happens too is if an actor, like I'm SAG eligible now from having done Law and Order, but my agent said, look, don't join SAG until you have to,
Thank
because
you. Yes.
98% of the stuff I do is not SAG eligible,
Yes.
so I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to do, Pam or whatever else it might be. So, my agent said, until you get to a point where they say you must be SAG to do this, and also, as you know, it's very expensive to join SAG, and there's an annual fee, and if I'm not working, what's the point of it?
Yeah. I mean, I got reamed one time for saying that online because somebody asked, should I join SAG? And I said, only if you have to, because there's a lot more non-union work right now than there's work. So I know people, that's their goal, is to join SAG, but if you're going to spend $3,500, and you're going to have 2 SAG jobs a year, you'll never be eligible for health insurance. And then unless somebody does micro budget or SAG ultra low budget, they can't hire, it's
Right.
just not going to make sense. I love, the thing is, I work with a lot of SAG actors, but I also like to work with up and coming actors who aren't there yet, but they're new talent, and I love like kind of mentoring them and trying to like guide them along and watch their career is just like really super exciting to me. So I don't ever want to give up working with new people.
Yeah.
So I like that variety, which ultra low budget, you can do that, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's what Waitlist was. That's what Couple of Guys is. The difference is Waitlist started out as micro budget, and I thought it was going to stay micro budget, but then it got bigger and bigger. It was a 1-day film that then became, I can do a very inexpensive feature, and then it became not as inexpensive. And I went over the threshold. So trying to do the right thing, I went to SAG to flip the contract, and wow. So you got to pay all your non-union people SAG wages, which I don't mind that. I do mind paying the pension and health that they don't even get. So you have 21% of your payroll to people who will never see a cent of it, and most of them were non-union actors. So I spent thousands of dollars that they will never get. And that kind of bothered me. Couple of Guys, however, is mostly union. So so that I don't mind so much, but it's just I felt a bit shaken down, but,
I get it. Absolutely.
But I get it, and I understand there's a reason for it, and I do love working with a lot of names. I work with a lot of TV people, and I like that mix. I like bringing the young people in that are newer to work with names, to give them that opportunity that they really wouldn't get otherwise, and really have them be elevated, and so that's kind of a fun thing.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Closey was great. He's wonderful. I was thrilled to see him in Waitlist. I said, oh, look at him. There you go. And he's just so natural. He's so good.
He is so good. Yeah, he is. He's unbelievable, actually.
Yeah.
When I texted him about the script, I hadn't worked with him. I mean, I'd cast him in other movies for other people, but I think I had personally directed him since we did Last Taxi Driver 15, 16 years ago.
Right.
I just texted him and say, hey, Bobby, I got this film, and I think it's a cool role for you. And he didn't ask what it was. He's like, Markowitz and Clancy together again, and sends me like the drama, the hearts and stuff. And he just jumped in, and Tar and Abigail Hawke, and so that was a lot of fun. And they do help make the movie, because they're just so good and so fun. So I hope that. And then Couple of Guys is mostly actually, Robert's not. He was supposed to be a Couple of Guys before we made it a feature. It was supposed to be a series. So in the series, he was going to be one of the characters, but once we condensed it, that didn't happen. And but it's Abigail Hawke and Lucas Hassel and Sal Rendino and Kieran Sheehan. Kevin Brown from 30 Rock has a small part, supposed to be bigger, but not. Brian O'Halloran has a nice role in it. That was supposed to be bigger, but now not. a lot of Christian Keiber, Carrie McGann. Once it became not a series, they just had bit parts, which is kind of sad, but you know.
Right, right.
And then you look at all the money you tossed away when you know you can't use all those scenes anymore. Oh, it kills me, but I know it's the right thing to do. People aren't buying series anymore, and I was never going to raise enough money to finish it as a even as
Right.
a limited series. So you do what you got to do. But Jr., do you see yourself just doing features at this point, or are you still going to do some shorts?
I'm always looking to tell the best story possible, right? And the most engaging story possible. And the stories that I'm really drawn to. That's really the biggest thing. And going back to earlier, I'm very much in awe of actors. I'm very much in awe of working with people like Tom and Peter and getting to see them do their thing right in front of me. There's not many better things in the world, for me at least, than watching a great actor go at it, 3 feet away from you, and I like to be right in the middle of it. I like to be right front, like up close and personal. That's a big thing for me as well. I think the art of performance, the art of performing, right? These are things that are really sacred to me, and when you think about it, right? When we talk about Pam as a film, right? The two oldest professions in the world, being sex worker and being an actor. These are the oldest professions in human history, I think. And for good reason, right? And so what Tom and Peter were able to do in this film, I think, was extraordinary, and working with them was extraordinary. And again, going back to earlier, talking about a film family, I've said this to them multiple times, but these are two gentlemen that I'd love to make films with forever, whether it's a feature or short or this or that. But personally, I am drawn to features, right? I mean, a lot of that is based on what's available and what I can grab at. And saying that, I'm always trying to elevate it, right? And step it up and up the scale of it, So we'll see where it goes. It's been a fun ride so far.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I know what you're saying. I mean, one of my dreams was always to be like a Quentin Tarantino or like a Kevin Smith, where they bring all their friends with them, they bring different films
Right.
and go on. And yeah, you work with different
Yeah.
people, but it's kind of cool to have that team together. John, my husband, is an actor, John Marine,
Mhm.
besides being my business partner. Great actor. He's our DP when we need him. If I have a different DP because I'm hired somewhere else, then he's our sound guy. And he's not our sound guy, then he's the AD, or he's like the only thing I do is write and direct and occasionally cast. John is like fits every other every other role there is. So I know I can use him
Yeah.
there. But there's times we work on our own stuff that has nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. And then we compare notes and whatever. But when we were doing From the Embers, which was the Brimstone feature, I forget what happened, but something happened with the timing of that. Oh, we were also doing a movie I was hired for called Welcome to Bellevue, which is a
Yeah, yeah. The more Maureen,
Maureen Trees. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. She and I worked together a couple of years ago in a play. We
Yeah,
did it.
she's great. She's really
Yeah.
great.
Oh, yeah.
It was fun. It was very challenging. I had to do a lot of things I never did before. And because she was raising money and then filming a couple of days and then raising money, it literally took us about 2.5 years to do it. And
Right.
John started out as the AD, and then we went into one of our films, and it's like you can't AD two projects. You just can't. So we got another AD and we switched him to sound on that one because you can't. You're gonna lose your mind, trying to do. Plus, he was acting in another film and then doing sound in another film. It was like 14 insane months, which I hope I never have to do again. It too many things came together at one time, and it wasn't planned that way, and it was just. When you do the thing you really, really love, and then you get up and you go, "Oh God, this fucking film again," and then you realize I'm doing too much of it. I need to step back, and so we purposely, for like 8 weeks, did not step on set. So we could catch up with all the paperwork and all the
Hmm.
everything else you got to do to get it going. But it's easy when you love something so much that you just want to do it all the time, but you got to pace yourself. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. You do.
there's one actress, I won't bring up her name. She's phenomenal, and I adore her. And she's been in a bunch of my films, and she just said I have to stop for a little bit because there's all these challenging rules. I just have to stop for a little bit and breathe. And like that's smart. Pace yourself now. While you can, because if your career takes off, you got to know how to manage it.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm proud of actors when they realize that. It's like, okay, this one I have to sit out, because I have this other one I'm doing and I don't want to hurt production. I want to make sure I'm there for every film that I'm on, because this stuff isn't easy, I mean, you may love it, but do you consider it easy?
It's
Yeah.
it's the time sometimes. Sometimes it's tiring sometimes because it's a long day.
Mhm.
But when the camera's rolling, it's fun. It's play. That's what we're doing, right? That you're acting, you're playing.
Mhm.
So it's always enjoyable. Sometimes, I've been on set at 3 a.m., and it's like, I look at your watch, I go, what time are we done here? Oh, action? Okay. And then you just go about and you do it. It's just, as an actor, I think Peter, will agree here. You just love acting, so you want to do it. You get the opportunity, and when you're doing someone else's coverage, you're on set, you're giving them everything you can. Also, it helps their performance. It helps them because they've got something to react to. But you just love doing it.
Mhm.
And of course, then you do your coverage, you do their coverage, and you kind of think, can we do mine again? Because I got some better ideas now. I think I know the scene a little bit better now, having done it 15 times.
Yeah. I don't think there's ever a time where an actor asks for an extra try where I didn't say yes. I'm not, nobody
Right.
asks for it every 10 times, but because sometimes you're right. They see something they didn't see before, let's see what you got. Or I
Yeah.
want to try this, let's see how it looks. If I like it, we'll keep it. If we won't like it. I just did that on a couple of guys with one of Lucas was actually on it was sales coverage, and I realized, oh man, you know what we should have said? And just as one add, these two words would have changed something. And so we had to go back because I'm like, that makes a difference. And I didn't
Yeah.
realize until I'm watching, going, something's missing, and then have to do that. But yeah, it's like the best freaking thing ever, that's for sure. And I'm so in awe of you guys. It's just crazy. I'm it makes me every now and think, should I go back? Should I study? And I don't have time, So I have that fantasy. But when you write, JR, when you write, do you become all the characters? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a blast.
Yeah, 100%. I'm always trying to write from a personal perspective, and even though I always say this, if every film was about me, it'd be boring. So I'm not writing about me literally, right? I'm obviously not Pam. I'm obviously not Beetle, but I'm like injecting my own ideas about the world and myself in the characters, right? Especially through a character like Pam. And that's where I can relate to the story, and that's where I can become the characters, And I do have this sort of very odd process where when I am writing, like how method actors sort of become the characters for a bit. When I'm writing, I do sort of become the characters for a little bit, at least in my own head, when I do my own little rituals. So it's interesting, and of course when you do have people that you closely collaborate with, and when you have very talented actors and stuff, and a big thing for us was preaching ownership of it, and I'm sure like Pete and Tom could add on to this afterwards, preaching taking ownership of it. When I'm bringing these actors the script, right, they're coming to me and they're saying, okay, well, what's my motivation here? What's this, what's that? And these are the questions I want to be asked, and I'm glad to be asked, and I'm glad to talk about, and glad to rehearse, and it's about finding it together, and that's something we really did, I think, a solid job at that. It was a lot of fun. I'm sure, Tom and Pete, if you want to add on to that.
Pete?
Pete, hey Pete,
No, I'm cool. You pretty much said what I would have said.
accident, he's chilling. He's
We, you know, this summer of 24, JR and I were on the phone. Again, like I tell this story all the time, but it's true. Like we'd leave like these 15-minute voice messages throughout the day, like 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 of them, talking about the character.
Yeah.
And as I had, prior to even rehearsing, had my ideas about the character. Because the character is 50 something years old, so there's a whole life that has to be accounted for, prior to the moments we're introduced to the character. So we had a lot of those conversations. I said, I think this and I think that, and this is why I think maybe the character of Lauren should be played by blah, blah, blah type of, an actress of a certain age rather than an actress of a different certain age, because it makes sense. And we really worked through a lot, and a lot of this stuff. And luckily I worked with Beck.
Mhm.
I met Beck on The Mansion, where John, your husband, was the DP.
Yep.
And Michael Fideli was on that. I think, was Deborah Twiss on that too? I don't
He
recall.
wasn't on that one. No, I actually was supposed to cast that, and I put in
Okay.
the names, but then he kicked me out and just hired everybody.
Okay. But so I met
Whatever.
Beck there as a makeup person. She was a makeup artist on that.
Yes, yeah.
So I'd met Beck, and then I saw that she was working with you, and she had done some work. And we were in Jim Haggerty's Natural Causes together, and we're both.
Yeah, I recommended her. I'm not sure if I recommended for you. I know I recommended her.
Actually, you did. You
I did
gave
recommend her.
Jim my
Okay.
name, and we'd also done Necromance.
Oh yeah,
So
what's that? Never mind,
it's not that. I think TJ is coming close to having a locked cut. I'm not sure, but that was a lot of fun to work on. And Travis is in that as well.
Mhm.
But so I'd known Beck, and she was one of the people I had recommended to JR. I said, hey, maybe we should get Beck to do an audition because I think she might be a good fit. And it worked out, and for a lot of different reasons, Beck was like the perfect person to play that character.
Yeah.
She and I knew each other a bit, and she and I would also then write to each other,
Mhm.
and come up with ideas for the characters and the history and how we thought, like JR had a scene and he had, a lot of the bones of the scene there, and we would say, okay, what can we do? What can we add to this a little bit? The two of us. And she was a great collaborator. Peter and I, obviously, we've worked together, done a few shows together, plays together. And so we have a really solid collaborative working relationship. I mean, off screen even more so than on screen. We've been friends now for years, 4 or 5 years. But doing the film, there was a lot of the two of us working just together, and sometimes not even communicating what we were going to do, just playing off each other,
Mhm.
which I think helped. Particularly I think in the final scene, between us in the bedroom. Obviously, it was scripted and there were ideas thrown back and forth, but a lot of it was just we were just listening to each other and
Mhm.
responding to each other
Mhm.
in real time, getting the points, hitting all the points that were necessary for the scene.
Mhm.
But it was really, and we shot that a few times, and every time was a little bit different because we were just legitimately reacting to each other. We knew, okay, this is going to happen. I have to hit Peter at
Mhm.
this moment. But other than a couple of those beats,
Couldn't wait for
a lot
that.
of
He
it,
loved hitting me.
it was that was the moment where Pete goes, "Well, you can really slap me." I was like, "Oh, nah, I won't." Oh no, I won't. Although here's a little secret. That is the live sound up from the scene. I did the old leg slap bit. So the sound in that moment is actually what was shot that day. We didn't plug in a slap sound.
Uh-huh.
So that's like, oh, that's a little funny, little something, because I didn't know it was going to work, And when I saw it, I said to Jerry, I said, why did you plug that in? Did you dub something? He said, no, that was actual sound we had. Okay, that worked out well.
Oh wow. Yeah. I mean, it's so cool when you go to set and there's like people you really know it's that's always fun. It's like, ooh, I get to work with so and so again, and
Yeah, and it was the sets were very small. It was the actors, JR, the makeup artist, who would sometimes leave after she did the makeup.
Mhm.
Somebody helping with lights or something, helping with sound. But the crew was only maybe 3 people, usually on any given day shooting.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was really, guerrilla filmmaking. They are in the back seat of my car, with this guy Brandon or another Tom, young Tom, holding a light.
Shout out, young Tom.
And they're trying not to laugh at the dialogue, in a given scene. And I'm like, after, between shots, I'm like, please guys shut up. It's just funny when you say blah, blah, blah. Just shut up.
There were a few times when Tom would turn around and he'd be like, I'm acting here. Come on.
When we did our first feature, we had no money to make it, and probably similar to you, but I wanted to make a feature. I told John, I've done like 30 shorts already. It's time for me to do a feature of my own. And so I wrote something called The Only Woman in the World. And I figured, well, how are we going to do this? Because I really feel like I need to pay everybody. And so we decided that we would get a bunch of young filmmakers and train them. I think I ended up giving everybody a stipend anyway, but we trained somebody on sound and we trained somebody. We had a professional gaffer who helped us out, but we also trained somebody doing that. John shot it. I think we had Beck for hair and makeup, but other than that, everybody else was people we trained. Some of them who are still doing this now because they learned on our set. But there were days where it's just me and John and the two actors.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, you're not paying them; they're not showing up. So we had to do it. John's doing sound and running the camera and doing his own, focus pull and whatever.
Hmm.
And yeah, you do what you got to do. When you want to make a movie, you're going to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
I don't think there is as a dedicated a group of people who are, I want to say, real filmmakers. There's people who just pick up a camera, they want to make a movie, and they don't really have a love for the art per se. They just want to do something. And then there's people who you're obsessed with it. It's just what you're going to do no matter what. If you even got to work at 9 to 5 at 6 o'clock, you're on set. Which is
100%.
kind of what we did. I was working when I started making movies, but every weekend I was working on a film. Every night I was writing. Every vacation was on a film set. There was no time off ever. But I knew that once I left the film office, I was a Nassau County Film Commissioner. I knew that once I left there, I wanted my feet on the ground running. I didn't want to say, okay, now I'm ready to make a movie. No, I wanted to make 20 movies by the time I left.
Right.
And I think I did 30 or 40, but so that when we started, I don't like to tempt fate. People who say, well, when I retire, this is what I'm going to do. Those are people who are going to drop dead in 5 minutes, But if you're already doing what you want to do, then you're ahead of the game. The universe doesn't take you out,
I retired almost a little over a year ago. A year ago this past week, and there were people who said to me, "Wait a minute, you just retired now?" I said, "Yeah." Well, how did you do this, this, this? I said, "Because I wanted to do it." So after work, or on the weekends, or on a vacation, whatever, you just did it. So a lot of the work I had done just because for the love of it. When we did this movie, we did it, again after hours, after we got off of work, and and the shoot days were short. JR kept them reasonably. They were like 4-hour shoots, but this is what we want to do. And Peter and I, there was no money. This was like we did it for Taco
My
Bell.
whole paycheck went to him.
Right. Yeah, it's like my residual check. Yeah,
7 cents. Too loud.
7 cents. But it was because we believed in the project, and it was something that we just felt so compelled to do. To get the story out there, to work together, the belief in one another. The people we brought in, and again, we rehearsed too. So it wasn't just like, oh, now so and so was on set. We knew everybody. Every performer, regardless of the size of the role, we had rehearsed with, and we had a feel for. So it was really a complete, total labor of love. We did it just because, again, it was important to us as creatives, that we wanted to get the story across. But this particular story became so very important to us. The characters became personal. Important to us. And I think one of the strongest elements of this film is that we don't judge any of the characters. We just present them, and they're human, and they've got good and bad and sad and happy and cruel, whatever it is they got, these different personality aspects, but they're just people. And I think it's one of the really beautiful things about this particular film is that there's no judgment. It's just these are who they are.
I'd like to add to that, because funny you say that, Tom, because last night in class with the lovely Lynn Antonovich, she was saying we don't judge our characters because what good does that do for the scene? And I remember the first film festival we had took Beautiful Pam to. Someone had said, "Don't you hate Beetle? Aren't you just so disgusted by him every time you go to set?" And like, hey, okay, sure, Beetle has these qualities. He's not the kindest human being in the world, But no, because like I think every role that we do, whether it's Beetle or Pam or other roles that Tom and I have done, they're like children almost. We give birth to them. We give this world to them, and good or bad, I'm gonna sit here and defend that person, good or bad. But yeah, I think it's important to not judge, because then you start to hate it, and then that translates. And I think that's, like going back to talking about the scene that was filmed in my bedroom, the final scene between Beetle and Pam. That's what worked so well. We were finally at that point, I think, where Tom and I. Well, I don't want to speak for Tom. Tom can speak for himself, of course. But for me personally, I that was when I felt like the most comfortable as Beetle, and I felt the most like accepting of him in that moment was then. No bullshit, no facade, no mask on anymore. It's just Beetle, So yeah.
Yeah, as an actor, and Peter and I have discussed this many times, as as fellow actors, you have to love your character.
Hmm.
The bad guy isn't always a bad guy.
Mhm.
And we all in life, we're the hero in somebody's life, we're the villain in someone else's life. Obviously, if you're a gangster and you're committing crimes, you're doing that, but you justify it. There's a reason I do that, because this is how I make a living. I couldn't make a living. The man would keep me down. So this is how I make a living. So everything you do as a character, you have to justify. I auditioned for a role some years ago, and the character could have been perceived as maybe sleazy, but I didn't see it that way. And a friend of mine auditioned for the same role. He said, "Oh, after the audition, I felt like I had to go home and take a shower." I thought, why? Why? No, 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 no. You can't. If you're looking at the character that way, then you shouldn't be trying to play
Hmm.
that character. You have to be able to empathize and be in that skin and not feel judgy
Mhm.
about who you're playing. You just have to play it, that person. And I think that Peter and I both kind of found that. You know, again, we've worked together in the past doing some intense stage work together, so we had a feel. But it's just as an actor, that's what you do. You're
I mean, I
inhabiting
think
it.
this would be a perfect therapy for people who could act, could channel through acting to have all these experiences that you can be, that you can also walk out of later. I mean, I have to think that's got to be just tremendous, to have that, to be able to play like that. You can kill people, but I actually kill
Right? But
you
a
know?
lot of times you see like people like Nicholson or Hoffman or whoever it is will say that one of the reasons they love acting is that you get to do you get to be all these people. And then you get to walk away from it at the end of the day. You get to be the gangster or a stand-up comedian or whatever the character is, and you get to inhabit that and be that person, live that life for X amount of time, and then okay, you walk away from it and you go back to being you.
Oh yeah.
And that's one of the joys of being an actor. I think for George C. Scott, he said it was being a prostitute. So I guess George C. Scott didn't like acting as much as we do.
Mhm. Oh, it's yeah. No, I love it. I love creating the characters. When I write, I like you, I become all the characters, and more so with my novels than I think with the screenplays. Maybe just 'cause I'm doing it longer, but especially when I was writing my novels, they were very dark, very, because I guess my life back then was much darker than it is now. So even though it's not autobiographical, you channel things that you want to come out. And I know my stories really touched a lot of people, but as John would know, I'd be in here doing all the characters and crying and whatever, because this thing was so friggin' heartbreaking. But I also know as a writer, if I feel it, the audience is going to feel it. And if I don't feel it, nobody else is going to connect with it.
Yeah.
That's how I know I get hired to direct a lot, but if I read it and I don't feel anything, it's not about the money for me. I'll give you somebody else, but I'm not the right person for this, because if I don't feel it, nobody else is gonna. And I
Right.
can make it look good, but yeah, it's such a personal process, writing for people or directing for other people, and you've got to find something you love about it and love the people you're working with.
Hmm.
I couldn't. I've only had my name taken off one movie, and and one shall never see the light of day, because it's just try to actually do a nice thing for somebody who passed away, who was actually a fairly famous indie director, and they asked me to direct his last film. And I'm like, all right, I'm all in. And I rewrote it. And after we did it, I'm like, this just sucks. And that he kind of had such a down turn in his career. And so we wanted to do the right thing by doing his last film, but at the same time, we realized this is why there's a downturn in his career. It just this, and then it was heartbreaking. We decided not to do anything. We just buried the film, and it's like everybody did their job. It looked great. John shot it, I mean, but it just unlikable characters, unlikable story, unlikable. And I said, I can't. And so we all agreed, just this isn't going to help anybody, and it's not going to celebrate this person. But because of that, I'm like one of those very anxiety ridden people, and I felt so bad that was somebody else produced it, and it just wasn't ever going to happen. That I woke up one morning at 3 in the morning, which is not unusual for me, and I wrote another script and I sent it to the producer and I said, whatever you want to do with this, you want to hire me, that's fine. You want to hire somebody else, I don't care, but I have to give you something. You
Right.
spent all this money for a film nobody's going to see. And she read it and she goes, this had me crying. I want to do this and I want to hire you, of course. And then we had a much better film that just cleaned up and, in the film festival circuit, whatever. But, and what we did was we kind of told the story of his life, but we gave it a happy ending.
Okay.
And so then that felt like, what you couldn't do here because he got very sick, we did for you, and that just, that was a good feeling because movies are magic. I mean, they really are, the healing that you can do, you write a script and I always say it's not for everybody, but for the people who need to see it.
Yeah.
That's who it's for, and I think if you stick with that, you're going to have a pretty good career. You may not be rich, or you might be, but, to just kind of do stuff that isn't really good. I understand there's paychecks that have to be had, I do get that. Well, I'm just lucky in a position that I don't need to do that because I wouldn't do it very well. I'm a sucker. Yeah, if a guy's got a lot of money, that's not the guy I'm dating. If this project has a lot of money, that's not the movie I want to do. If that's but I'm happy with everything I've done, so I think there's a certain, I'm just happy. I mean, just, I just got offered this ridiculous job a few days ago, and I'm sitting there with John, first of all, checking out if it's real, and second of all, going, well, if you do this for a year or two, we can fund all our movies for the next 5 years. And it was I realized that I work all my life to put myself in the position to do exactly what I want, to leave the thing that I exactly want to do to go work again. And I finally had to, you know what? As much as money's great, why give up, 3-4 years of my life being miserable,
Sure.
I mean, there would have been stuff I liked about it, but I finally called them. I said, you know what, this is an awesome opportunity, but give it to somebody who really needs it and wants it. Because, just
Okay.
so it was like, hey, now I can breathe. But I spent a few days going, how do I turn this down? And then I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I want to come home to my dog and my husband and my grandchild and my house and, make my films. I wouldn't be able to make films for a bunch of years. There was
Right.
a lot of travel involved and stuff, and not what I want to do. So it was difficult. Is it a challenge? I want to do it. How cool. And then the other part was, I really don't want to. I love my life. I love what we do, how cool is it what we all get to do, really? It's
Yeah,
like the best
it's
thing
a
ever.
blessing. It's absolutely a blessing. I always relate to a filmmaker like Francis Ford Coppola when it comes to the actual process of getting a film made, right? I mean, these films to me, they're life or death. This is everything to me, and I'm willing to put everything, all the pennies in my piggy bank on the line to make these things. It's something that's very important to me. And when I hear stories, me and Tom have talked about this. When I hear stories about Francis Ford Coppola and the process of getting this film made or this film made, and how serious he takes these things, I'm like, well, I relate to that too. I mean, like you said, it's a blessing to be able to do this. And I even look at a filmmaker like Sean Baker, who just swept the Oscars a year ago with Anora. The natural progression in his career from making films for $1,200 all the way to making a $6 million Oscar winning movie. These are all things that I'm drawn to as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, and it's like you said, it's just a blessing. It's a great thing.
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine doing anything else. My hardest thing is figuring out I'm doing so much filmmaking that I'm not writing. And so we have to figure out how to take off a few months so we can just write and get caught up with those projects, but I have an obsession. I mean, we almost, we're finishing, we have waitlist. I'm doing all the promotion for that, and From the Embers is in editing, and a couple of guys, we have one more day left to film, and these are all features. And then we have the business deck done for Yuletide that I'm doing with Michael Fideli. And we have to work on the business plan, but I want to rewrite one of the characters, so that's got to be next. But then somebody approached me to do an action film, and I'm like, oh, I haven't done that before. I want to do something that would be really cool. We get people shot and all kinds of shit that I've never done before. So I'm seriously considering that. But then I told him I'll do it, but I have to rewrite the entire thing. And he's like, what do you got? And I told him, he goes, that's amazing. I said, all right, well, and I want to do it as a vertical. I want to try something different because I've done it else before, so that might be kind of fun. It won't be any really serious story, but it'll be done well, but it's fun. It's like, I want to do everything. I think it might hurt me in the fact that I don't really have a favorite genre. So you can't, I have romantic comedy, I have dark drama, I have a zombie comedy, I've got, this action film I'll be doing, I have a sitcom, because I want to do everything different. I want to do everything. Do you feel that, JR, you're always attracted to very dark films, or you like to do different stuff?
Well, one day when, hopefully Disney comes knocking, I'd love to make a kids film, No, I mean, those are the films I grew up with, those. So, that's always something I'd like to do one day, No, but seriously, I'm just drawn to telling stories about people. I like to tell stories about how complicated being a person is and how complicated people are as a whole. And going back to what Tom and Pete were saying earlier about no judgment, that's life, because people. Tom said this earlier, you're the hero in someone's story and you're the villain in someone else's, right? And that's what it is, I think people are messy, right? And people are often conflicted about a lot of different things. And that's what I'm drawn to, right? I don't have a particular genre in mind, but I'm mostly drawn to the drama, right? To the messiness of life and how scary people are. So.
Oh, people are scary.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so true. I know. I have this conversation with John all the time. He's like, yeah, there's way too many humans. And it's like,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we should go, we should move upstate where it's quieter. And he goes, okay,
Yeah.
just know that the people upstate can be very scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He grew up by the mountains. There's an
Yeah.
area you did not go because people didn't come back. I mean, it's just, like it's not, even though it looked like nice little house on the prairie stuff, he goes, they have more places to hide the bodies up there.
Exactly. I was just going to say that, right? There's more places to bury the bodies, right?
So maybe we'll go on vacation upstate, not not necessarily move up there, but yeah, they can be twisted. He's a lot more cynical than I am, but he's he's seen stuff. So I think that's what makes him a really good actor, is the fact that if you can imagine or even have seen or I think that's stuff that adds to that really great complex characters that people can put together, which is awesome. Have you seen Brimstone yet, Tom?
I have not seen Brimstone yet.
Okay, he plays basically a character. Again, I made it for him and Travis, and he plays Travis's father, and he was a very abusive man who used religion as a weapon.
Okay.
It's not that he was even necessarily very religious, but he can quote everything to show you what a piece of scum you are, and just
Right.
and spare the rod and spoil the child, and he just beat the shit out of his son. But and not that was John's upbringing, but the Bible was, because he was raised fundamentalist Baptist.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
6 days a week. This is it. This is the Bible. It's the Word of God, and dinosaurs weren't real. Satan put the bones there to, I mean, just crazy crap. And but John being who he is, and I think you might know him a little bit, but he's basically took 4 different Bibles, compared the lines in each and every one of them, laid them all out, and go, which one is true? And they asked him to leave at like 12. You don't question things in religion.
Right. Yeah. Just accept. Yeah.
But the reason that character, when we show that movie around, people are sort of like, I did not realize how many people were abused by religion. bad things happen to them in the name of that. And I'd never seen that personally, but it's, I'm surprised that almost everywhere we go, somebody will come up and go, oh my God, you don't know how I've been tormented by whatever. And that's kind
Yeah.
of,
I mean, how many wars have been started because of religion, over religion, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
religion and or oil, but you put them both together usually. But yeah.
Yes,
But we went
yes.
off on a tangent. So I'm going to show the trailer. John, can you play the trailer for Beautiful Pam if you're still around? We think he's still around.
I think I'm someone who... Let me start again. I am someone who thinks about dying a lot. I mean, it's not like I'm suicidal or anything, it's just I'm kind of sick God fucks with people like this. Oh God.
You wanna shoot yourself, Pam? You wanna go and fucking blow your brains out?
No, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, alright, maybe. Go right ahead and fucking do it then.
It's okay to not be okay.
Not a kid anymore. He's turning 18. Where the fuck have you been?
I really like fucking. Guess you could say I've got a fucking problem. I'm sorry, it's just a fucked up sense of humor.
Wow. It's like I have so many questions about this, but we'll be here for 5 hours. But so JR, where can people see Beautiful Pam?
People can watch Beautiful Pam on YouTube for free right now via my YouTube channel, Sid Cinematics. So go check it out.
And we're going to be putting also all the socials on,
Sounds
when
good.
we post it so people can see it that way. But thank you, gentlemen, for being here
Thank you
tonight.
so
I
much,
really
Deb.
appreciate that. It was great to talk about it. I just see
Thank
such
you, Deb.
great things for all of you. So I look
Thank you
forward
so
to
much.
following along. But thank you so much for the best of intentions for joining us here today, and hope you enjoy it. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.